Oh, hello? Hi. Netmarble HQ? Hi, how are you? Yeah, this is TBR. TBR. You know, the YouTuber. The one that you secretly rig all of his poll sessions except for his cards. That TBR? Yes, yeah, hi. How are you? Oh no, you're fine, not a problem. Hey, I know you guys are super busy and understaffed, and I know you got a lot going on, but I was really hoping if maybe I could talk to Manager Kiki just for a few minutes if he's available. Yes. Yeah, it's no big deal. He doesn't even have to put his mask on. It will only take a few minutes. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I can hold. No problem. Thank you.
Please remain on the line as we value your call.
6.5 hours later.
Hello? Hello? Hi. Yes. Manager Kiki. Hey, how's it going? No, you're fine. You're fine. I've been on hold for a little while. I stepped away from my phone. It's no big deal. You're good. Good. How are you? Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, look, I know you're super busy. I know you're understaffed. I know you got a lot going on, but I was really hoping if maybe I could talk to you for just a few minutes. I can? Awesome. Great. Okay. So I was hoping that maybe we could talk about, and I know, it's new and there's a lot going on. I was hoping maybe we could talk about the EX system and a few improvements that maybe could be done and implemented to make everybody a little bit more happy about it. Hello? 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 He hung up on me. Well, I guess we're just going to do another Dear Netmarble video. What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and happy Saturday to all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. If you guys couldn't tell from the introduction to this video today, we are going to be taking this week's Saturday Chat and Chill as an opportunity to do another installment into a different series that we normally do here on the channel, and of course that is going to be the Dear Netmarble series. In this installment, we are going to be talking about the EX system. We're going to be talking about a few things that need to change with the EX system, a few improvements that need to be made, and overall, we need to just talk about a few things as it has to do with this extreme system, because honestly, you guys, there are some major issues that need to be addressed sooner rather than later. So that is going to be what we talk about in this week's video. But before we go ahead and talk about all of that and more, make sure if you guys haven't already done so and you enjoy daily King of Fighters All-Star content such as this, please smash that like button and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into the topic. So, when it comes to the EX system, I'm not going to talk about a lot of the topics we've already covered as it has to do with the EX system. We've already talked about how native EX fighters do have their perks. Obviously, you don't have to go in and get just that many more memories in order to get a change-up kit, and in general, that is a very nice little perk to a native EX character versus a character that is going to be a normal SS or BS character or otherwise that just so happens to get EX added onto them at a later time. However, there are some glaring issues, and they really have reared their ugly heads with this update. Now, of course, this isn't the first time we've seen native EX characters. Those were introduced with the Street Fighter V collaboration just a few short weeks ago. However, this is going to be, as you guys can tell, the very first limited banner for EX fighters. And so therefore, this is kind of our first taste of what we're going to be seeing going forward into the future with these banners, and there are some definite improvements that need to be made. So the first thing I want to go ahead and talk about here is going to be obviously the big thing for everybody, which is going to be the rates, right? So the 0.6% rate for an EX fighter versus the 1.2% when it comes to getting any of these other FES fighters, right? So in general, I'm not going to get too much into rates because rates are largely going to be down to the one person's luck versus another. Some people that go in and pull for these characters, as you guys can see, the PC client has been running ever so smoothly lately. Also, by the way, I could have almost done a Dear Netmarble on the server stability of this thing at this point. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, when it comes to the rates at 0.6% for native EX fighter on these EX banners, obviously that is low enough to not breed much of any optimism into the community when it comes to approaching one of these banners. And largely at this point, you guys know me, I've pretty much told you guys that really what I believe we need to do going forward as we approach these banners is going to be one of two things. We either are going to need to just skip any character that we aren't necessarily going to be a giant fan of and be a lot pickier with who we pull for, maybe just try to stick with your favorites and budget accordingly, or if you're those types of people that like to just save for collaborations, then that might be a definite possibility as well. But either way, I think long gone are going to be the days of being able to afford to go in on any and all of these banners whenever they drop, and you're going to have to pick your shots a lot more when it comes to these. Because at the end of the day, another thing that Netmarble did besides having the rates set at 0.6% in order to pull one of these guys, what they also went in and did is something a little bit more sneaky and something that definitely also needs to be addressed if this is going to continue, and that is going to be, obviously, the way that they have been divvying out rubies as of late. So one might argue that things obviously have not been bad whatsoever when it comes to free-to-play rubies in this game for a while. We have been pretty spoiled for certain events. However, recently, things have started to lower themselves. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, this last Ruby login event that we had, take it for an example, we got 4,000 limited login rubies, right? Now this is down from the 7,000 that we were normally used to for these other banners, and that is even down from the 10,000 that we have gotten prior in the past, even to those. So I know that's going back a ways, and those have been long gone at this point, but it is a bit unnerving to see that the limited login rubies continue to lower themselves every kind of couple of months or every 6 months or so. And that is something that I do feel like is a little heavy-handed. The reason I feel that way is if the rates are going to be such as they are with these new banners, you would think that maybe they would actually try to raise the limited login rubies or the rubies in general, which we'll talk more about, to kind of compensate a little bit, but that did not happen. Instead, it went the reverse. And I think that that left a really bad taste in a lot of mouths. And I know I've talked to a lot of people out there, free-to-play or otherwise, that were very unhappy about this fact. Now, not only did the limited login rubies get lower, but another thing that we notice is when it comes to these events, these are also going to be less rewarding, right? So take, for instance, the tower. Now, not every tower has given us rubies, right? But this tower is devoid of rubies. And I get it. There's other events going on to coincide with the Sacred Treasure stuff with this that they wanted to kind of try to apply to this. So we do have like the stones and the coins and things, which obviously, like I said in my breakdown video, are kind of the highlights of this tower. But this is just another example of a place where we could have had more help with some of this stuff, but there's nothing there. And that's kind of unfortunate. And I know a lot of people were really looking forward to that. And so this is another instance where I know a lot of people were really disappointed about this update, and I can definitely see why. Now, in general, when we take a look at other things that came along with this update, another thing that we should probably take a look at on this topic is going to be the bingo. The bingo this time, and historically speaking, I believe the exact number was typically going to be around 600 rubies on this board. This time around, we're looking at 200. So it's very unfortunate, and when you take a look here, there's no more that are going to be anywhere in here. So in general, I know that a lot of people have brought this up, but I felt like this had to be the first part of this point that I made, and that is the fact that the rubies need to be adjusted upward if things are going to get tougher to accumulate and to acquire, such as these EX fighters and their memories. They don't need to be lowering. So that is just one big aside, and I could go into any number of things and talk about how some of the rewards have been kind of, for lack of a better term, nerfed. But for the sake of time, we'll just leave it at that, and I think you guys pretty much get the picture there. Now, another big thing that I want to talk about is obviously going to be, while we're on the topic of summoning, rates, and otherwise, is going to be generic EX memories, right? So up until now, we do not have any sort of generic EX memory. And this is something that needs to be addressed immediately. Now, when it comes to EX fighters, we already know, and I think all of us are we're okay with this being something that goes forward in the future as being kind of what the future of the game is on the power creep aspect of things, as far as getting more EX fighters. The problem is we're in that same position that we were in about a year ago at this point, where we didn't have any sort of BS or SS generic memories in the game yet, and everybody was pretty much just sitting there going, what the hell am I supposed to do, right? So when we take a look at things here right now, we have a lot, and I do mean a lot, of EX fighters right now, right? They have been moving these things out very quickly. A lot of this has to do with the Street Fighter V collaboration, but when we don't have generic memories, not only is it going to make people a little bit less likely to want to go too deep into a banner because they feel like the investment's going to be just that much more, but also with these prior collab fighters, we don't have any way to build them post-collab, right? So a lot of people out there might have picked up maybe a copy, 2 or 3 of their favorite Street Fighter character, but they can't do anything with them now as far as continuing to build them. And so in general, the generic memory needs to happen. I don't see why that wasn't rolled out. Netmarble should have learned from their mistakes when it came to the SS and the BS banners originally. This was something they knew was a problem at the time when they dropped those original limited banners, and people were complaining that we needed some sort of generic memory or some sort of way to build those characters outside of just pulling that many more dupes of them. And so therefore you would think, being that they've been down this road before, that they would have learned from that, but they did not. So when you take a look at things such as maybe like the memory carnival, right? Again, kind of like with the tower, you can make the case that they wanted to go ahead and roll in some stuff to coincide with some of these other events. But really, this should have been an EX generic memory, right? I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing that. And in general, it would have been a lot more inviting for people, especially post Street Fighter V, when people are already tapped on rubies and don't have that much to be able to invest, right? So, you know, if you want to get people to kind of take the bait, so to speak, then you need to kind of incentivize them. And I don't feel like there was much of any incentive whatsoever here. At the end of this update, I think that more so it's going to be de-incentivizing people to pull for a lot of these banners going forward than it is going to be incentivizing them to do so. So, with all of that being said, another issue that we need to talk about outside of the EX generic memory, which I don't want to downplay, it is like, it might be the first priority right now with these guys. Like, it's the simplest fix, I can tell you that, but it needs to happen. Even if the rates are going to stay the same, and you're going to continue to not give us as many free login rubies and free rubies with some of these events as we're normally used to, you at least need to get the EX generic memory rolled out, and you need to not make it to where it's going to be something completely scarce. If you guys didn't see my video the other day where I did my Q&A, I had actually shown you guys a community poll and asked everybody how many people had been able to pull an SS or BS generic out of those Inferno Guild Raid boxes. And when you have only about less than 40% of people that have gotten even one out of those, that goes to show you that those are a little bit too scarce still. But even then, you don't see people complaining that much about it, because at least we have the opportunity. Right now, we don't even have that. So, the next thing we need to talk about, and we'll use Akuma here as an example. We need to talk about the extreme tag, right? So this has become an issue for a lot of people because we recently got the newest card set, which is going to be the successor set, right? And I'll go ahead and show you guys. Yes, I do now have the set. Sorry, spoiler alert if you did not see my poll video yesterday, but I did go in on the card banner and pick up the successor set, right? So the successor set is extremely powerful. It's arguably one of the best sets we have had for fighters that are not going to be collab fighters in a very long time. So being that it is a non-collab exclusive set, this is going to be one of the strongest sets we've had since those in a while. The main reason is going to be that not only is it going to be an extremely good, and no pun intended, I'm not trying to make jokes with this video, but not only is it an extremely powerful CP set, which I can go ahead and show you guys, it's actually going to be an extremely powerful set in general. I am going to be doing a video on this set, so that way you guys can see just how powerful it really is. I'll probably put that out Monday or Tuesday. But in general, you guys, look at this real quick. 62,000 CP, right? So in general, this set is incredibly strong. But the problem is, and when you take a look at it, you would be forgiven if you overlooked this, but it says increases EX fighters, right? Increase EX fighters. See that? However, this does not work on non-native EX characters. So I'm going to show you guys exactly the difference, right? Let's go ahead and do this. So what we'll do, if you guys remember, my Akuma got, what, 62k CP for that? Because he's a native EX fighter. Now let's see what Rugal gets. 8,000. 8,000 CP. The reason is, Rugal does not have the extreme tag, nor do any other fighters that are going to be non-native EX fighters. This includes M. Bison, right? This includes Orochi. But if you take a look at the native EX fighters, you will see this tag. So this is the problem when it comes to cards and potentially a lot of other cards going forward, right? Because we know that with these EX banners, we are going to be seeing a lot of EX support. We saw this with the SS banners, we saw this with the BS banners, and that's fine. I think we were all okay with that. The problem is they've already started to create two different tiers, two differing tiers of the same rarity, right? Now I get it. These characters that were non-native EX fighters are technically still SS and BS, but they're also EX. So now you're telling us that there's going to be a delineation between the two. And if we do that, then that means that we are not only neutering some of these future cards that we're going to get for support, but we're also neutering some of these characters that are being given these buffs by taking away their ability to take advantage of future support. And I think that that is a major, major red flag on Netmarble's part. I think it's an oversight at best, and at worst, it's just purely greedy. Because honestly, I don't think it would be that difficult to just, whenever you change up a character, they add the extreme tag. I don't think that that's difficult. I think that's easily something they could code in and get done, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But at the same time, that hasn't happened. So what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of people out there who are very upset that while they really, really like that set, because it is an incredibly strong set, it's one of the best ones, again, we've had in a while, it only works on X amount of characters right now. Now, that isn't that big of a deal, that point right there, because honestly, we're going to be getting so many future EX fighters that it really shouldn't be that big of a difference. I would just invest in it for the future. But that's still very unfortunate, right? And so when you're going to start having all this different support for EX fighters, but you're telling us that it will work for one EX fighter, but not another. And again, even though technically on the most slim of technicalities, these guys, I guess you could not consider EX fighters, even though they've been EX. I don't get it. I really don't get why we can't just have nice things with this. Like, this seems like it's kind of a weird hill to die on if you're Netmarble. I feel like it's one of those things where you should honestly just patch it in. Like, start giving these guys the extreme tag and be done with it. Like, I don't think that that's that big of a deal. But at the same time, it does seem like that right now the mindset is to only allow for some support on certain characters. And to me, while in the future that might become less and less of a problem, I think it's going to continue to spiral, because you're going to see people who are going to want their favorite characters buffed that are going to see buffs, and then they're not going to be able to use that support. So at the end of the day, you guys, I have a lot of issues with the EX system, and I think a lot of us do. But at the same time, I do think that there is potential there. I think that Netmarble could make some simple changes. I think that we could start getting a generic. I think that we could start seeing maybe little things tweaked here and there to make it a little bit more inviting and accessible. I think that some of these different things could be a little bit more rewarding to make up for it. And I think that that would help a lot of people. But if I were Netmarble, I would tread lightly. I've already talked to a lot of whales that are really upset about this, and I'm thinking about doing a video on that very topic. But I've talked to a lot of people in general, whether they're whales, free-to-plays, intermediate, kind of in that in-between, call them dolphins or whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of people that are upset about this, that feel like it's extremely difficult to pull these characters, that feel like it takes upwards of 100k rubies to even potentially be able to maybe A5 one. And while I know that, again, the reason I don't want to talk too much about rates is because it's all in the eye of the beholder and it's objective based on kind of how your luck goes one day to the next. But at the same time, it's an issue. We need these events to be more rewarding around these times with these banners if they're going to be like this and we're not going to have generics. We need something, because right now there is no reason to have these fighters be this expensive, other than the fact that you'd want to make a little bit more on your bottom line, which I think we all understand. But the golden rule when it comes to whales and these types of games, when it comes to companies that want to make money, and heck, even dolphins, the more inviting you make something, the more enticing you make something, the more that the player feels like they are being treated on the up and up, and that the deck isn't stacked against them, the more they're willing to spend on this type of stuff. So, take it for what you will, but I feel like while there could be any number of other small topics talked about within these that we've already talked about today, when it comes to the EX fighters, I feel like I've kind of hit the major points that I want to hit right now. Because these are the ones that I feel like are the most important right this minute, and they need to change going forward, going into another volume of these, because otherwise, I feel like you're slowly going to alienate a lot of people. But right now, if I were you guys, I would just try to hold on to your rubies, try to save, pick and choose your battles, be extremely picky with what you go for, wait for your favorites, maybe wait for a card or card set that you really, really need. But I would be very careful with how I spend going forward until we see how Netmarble decides to adjust. So anyway, you guys, that is going to be this week's Saturday Chat and Chill. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe. And without further ado, I'm going to get out of here, but I hope you all enjoy your weekend. You all take care. Peace.
Continue.